Hello, everyone. I'm hoping you are all having a nice night or day, depending on where you are in the world, time zone wise, and all that. And before this video starts, there's a serious question that I want to ask everyone who watches our content, because I currently don't want to wait for the community tab, which will probably be coming in a month for the channel. Also, just want to thank you all for getting us here as well. But yeah, back on topic. Do you guys want us to keep Mando or get rid of it, as we have something in the works to replace it? If that's what you guys want. Because right now it's not getting any views, but if you guys want to, it to stay and us to continue it, we will. But we figured we would ask you guys in advance, and we do want the response before Wednesday, please, from all of you guys. So yeah, do go to the comment section down below in the video near the end or beginning, and please comment if you want Mando to stay or be replaced. As like I said before, we have the replacement done. The replacement will be recorded not too far after this video. So yeah, that's all I want to say. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it. Also, I just want to say congratulations to, a certain commenter. I'm not going to, use his tag or his name, as I'm not sure if that's what he wants. But thank you for the name for the hospital dude or dudette. And hopefully you'll give us more replies and, comments and just stuff like that. Also, link will be in the description down below for the Discord. With all of this out of the way, let's begin. As we cut to Nezu in, a limo. As he's looking at the text that which he got from Aizawa. Naruto Hospital for Children. As that's what he told the driver. To take him to Naruto Hospital. Or Naruto Hospital. As that's what the driver did. As we arrive at, Naruto Hospital within, an hour. As we see Nezu walking into, the guest rooms, or the guest wing of the hospital for the children. As we see Aizawa, Inko, and the detective. As Aizawa nods at Nezu, as the police detective takes off his hat and gives a nod, as as Inko just gives a glare to, Nezu. Just giving a simple polite, "Hello there, Nezu." Why am I not surprised that Aizawa called you of all people? With Aizawa giving a bit of a glare towards, Inko. With the police detective coughing, saying, "Miss Inko, I would like if you do not antagonize the principal of UA. I do know your file and that you're not very keen on, well, Mr. Nezu here. But if Aizawa suggests that Nezu will be the best course of action here, then that's what it will take. Now, if you do not mind, I would like you to go find papers to have the young one be sent to the orphanage, with Nezu pulling out his own file saying, "Oh, there's no need to call her, well, young miss. We found out, well, her first and last name and where she comes from. And I must say, I'm quite interested on how this girl has, well, survived for 2 whole years by doing nothing but stealing and, well, hunting, as the police detective just nods, saying, "Very well." Hi, Brody. Sorry about that, that's my cat. As I was saying, as the police detective would just nod and step aside, as we go to, well, Inko, as we go into her head as she sees Nezu walk through the door, as she looks to see, well, Aizawa guarding the door, as she gives a smile, as all she can think is, maybe, just maybe, I can do something here. After all, it's not like I plan to get hitched anytime soon and have children. And if it turns out that family is, well, not good for her, I'll take her. You know what? I might as well go see this family of hers. Give my own assessment. As Inko walks over to, well, the files that Nezu left, as she skims them over, realizing that's the Hanaki household. That her name is Hanaki Izumi. As Inko just, well, shakes her head, saying, "Really, Hanaki?" As throughout the 2 years that Izumi's been missing, there's been a girl called Hanaki Toga coming to, well, the police station every time. As Inko skims over the papers even more, looking at, well, the photo of 2 years ago to, well, the current photo, as she has noticed a few differences. One is, well, kind of the hair color. The eyes are still the same though, a blood red. as her hair has almost taken on a husky-like appearance. A whitish gray, with a hint of blue, as she never got a good clear look at, well, this Izumi girl. As she turns around to see, well, the detective, well, behind her, looking at the files as well. With him looking at her, with the detective saying, "Corporal Inko, do you think what I'm thinking?" With, well, Inko just nodding, saying, most likely the girl was abandoned. And besides, the name Hanaki is familiar. With Detective, well, stroking his chin, saying, "Yes, if I remember, there's a young girl with the same last name. Toga, was it? She shows up to the police station, well, once a month, asking if, well, anyone's seen her sister, if there's been any reports of her." Now I think about, no wonder why we were never able to find her. With how she looks now, I doubt anyone from the Hanaki family would recognize her. But let's go pay them a visit. Get the story and see what happened. As Inko would just nod as she would take the file with her, as Aizawa would notice this but not do anything, as he considers it police matters now. As we go into, well, Izumi's room, as she sees, well, the door open, only to, well, not see anything, as she picks herself up a little bit, well, as much as she could, strapped down to the bed, due to, well, prior escape attempts, as she sees, well, white ears, as she thinks that it, well, is the wolf husky that has been with her for so long. As she sniffs the air to not, well, smell the same scent, but something different. Amalgamation. As she sneezes, as we hear Nezu from down below say, "Gesundheit." "Oh dear, I hope you don't have an allergy to, well, mouses or bears." "To my knowledge, you don't have any allergies to, well, canines." As Nezu would simply grab a stool, plop it down, and sit beside her bed, with Nezu giving his signature smile. With Izumi getting, well, defensive with her tone, saying, "What do you want?" As Nezu would simply put his, well, paws up, saying, "Please, no reason to be hostile, Miss Izumi." With Izumi narrowing her eyes, saying, "How do you know my name?" With Nezu sighing, "Miss Izumi, where I am currently, government-wise, allows me to get, well, information on many people. Especially, well, giving the reports I have read and found, a 5-year-old girl that has been missing for 2 years, according to her older sister Toga. With Izumi looking away. Huffing, saying, "I don't care about them." As Nezu would see, well, a locket on, well, a nightstand near her. As Nezu would go to reach for it, only to get growled at by Izumi, with her simply saying, "You touch that, and you'll lose your paw." Understood, freak? As Nezu is, well, kinda shocked. As no one has really ever talked to Nezu like this, not even, well, a kid. As all Nezu's thinking is, gaining her trust might be harder than I thought. Still though, to gain her trust would to be gaining a valuable piece on the board game. Her quirk allows her to be an excellent infiltrator. After all, most people wouldn't expect, well, a bird or a cat or dog, probably thinking that they're nothing more than, well, a stray. As Nezu would wipe the surprised look off of his face and go back to, well, a smile, saying, "Miss Izumi, I promise you, I'm not here to harm you. I simply just want to know your story, and to give you a few options." With Izumi, well, sighing, saying, "You're not going to go away until I tell you, are you?" With Nezu simply just nodding with his normal smile. With Izumi sighing but growling a fine under her breath. As she would begin, as we cut to, well, a house. As we cut to, well, two officers. As these two officers are the same from, well, the hospital. The detective and Corporal Inko. As the detective would simply knock on the door. As the door would be opened by, well, Izumi's father. As he would simply just say, "Whatever my daughter did, you can just take her." With the detective being, well, surprised with Inko stepping forward, saying, "We're not here for your daughter, sir." "Well, we're here because of one of them." With the man tensing up after hearing that. As Izumi's father tried very hard to, well, even hide Izumi's existence. Simply because she was a monster and a disgrace to the family. To have such a useless quirk. Are we correct to, well, believe that this is the, well, Hanaki household, with the man simply saying, "It is." "I think you're mistaken. I only have one daughter and a young son, another one on the way." With Inko simply pulling out the file and showing, well, the main picture, saying, "Is this not your daughter, Hanaki Izumi? After all, from what we have heard from your daughter, Hanaki Toga, that has been coming to us for every 2 years of every single month of the year, she has been missing from your household. But yet, I find it strange that, well, neither you or your wife ended up writing a report for a missing persons case. The only one that kept on doing it was your daughter." As the detective would grab, well, Inko's arm, simply, well, seeing that the man is getting ready to, well, do something. As the detective simply grabs his stun gun, getting ready for, well, a violent outburst. As the man was clearly not in a good mood to even start out with. As the man would simply release, well, a long breath, saying, "Look, I'm sure you police just want to do your job. But I don't exactly imagine that either of you have a warrant to search my estate. Now, unless if you have a warrant, I would like to kindly ask you to leave my property and to leave my family alone." As Inko would simply look at the detective, as the detective would nod, as they would get in their vehicle, as the detective would simply look at Inko, saying, "We won't be heading far away from this place. I have a bad feeling that something isn't right here." As they will only drive a little bit by the street, as the detective would pull binoculars out of his drawer, as he would be looking at the door of the house and the house itself. As Inko would be, well, doing the same, as she would have her, well, radio on her shoulder, ready to talk into to call backup if necessary. As not a moment later, did they see, well, a little girl coming out with, well, tears in her eyes. As Inko just simply smiles, as she just says, "Bingo." As the detective heard it, as he's wondering, well, what's going on in the corporal's head, as he decides to, well, put the binoculars away, along with Inko. As Inko simply turns on her radio, saying this is Corporal Inko. Here, currently on assignment of, well, the case of Hanaki Izumi. I would like to ask for, well, squads to be ready for rapid deployment, as the secretary would simply ask, and what would you be filing this under? As Inka would simply reply, if I were to take a guess, Jessica, I would say it's likely domestic abuse. With Jessica asking, very well, among what age bracket? As Inko says, a minor. As there's no response from the other side yet. As all we hear is a understood. As the detective simply looks at, well, Inko, as he says, Inko, I don't know what game you're playing at, but I suggest you play it carefully. With Inko just, well, looking at, well, detective with a straight face, saying, just doing my duty, sir. We should probably catch up with that girl, though. As eventually they would catch up with Toga. As we cut to Toga, as she hears, well, a vehicle behind her, thinking that it's her dad coming to, well, bring her back home. After hitting her with, well, a glass bottle over the head. Only to, well, see, well, a police vehicle instead. As Toga gets a big smile on her face, as she recognizes, well, one of the people in it. Many times when she would go to, well, the police station to file a missing persons report of her sister. As the vehicle would stop, as the window would be rolled down, as the detective would simply ask Toga, "Are you Hanaki Toga?" With Toga smiling, saying, "Yep." With the detective simply looking at, well, the corporal saying, "We would like to ask you a few questions about what life is like in your home." Like, how are you treated? What goes on in there? What was life like for your sister? As Toga would begin to, well, tell them everything. From when, well, Izumi left, she became the target of her father. And that ever since Izumi got her quirk, she was never allowed to leave the basement ever. Due to, well, how her dad would put it, it was a goddamn monster. a useless abomination that would amount to nothing. As Inko is writing all of this down. As Detective would simply look at her, saying, "If you like, we'll follow you back to your house." As Detective would look at, well, Inko saying, "Corporal," with Inko saying, "Already on it," as she presses, well, her walkie-talkie again, turning it on, saying, "We have cases of domestic abuse. Request for rapid response unit." Along with 2 heroes. As she would simply smile while saying this. As the detective would just shake his head, wondering what exactly goes on in that woman's mind, as she can smile at something like this. As moments later, Toga's father would be arrested for the abuse of, well, children and the mistreatment of, well, others as well. As Toga's mother was able to get away with it by blaming everything on, well, her husband. As Inko also did ask, well, Toga's mom if they would like her to, well, return her daughter to her again. With her simply saying, "I can't take her back." With Inko raising an eyebrow, saying, "Is it because of her quirk?" With Toga's mother shaking her head, saying, "No, it was mostly my husband who brought in the money. Without him, I'm going to have to be, well, raising 3 kids on one salary. To be honest with you, officer, there's no way I could take care of 4 children. Just to raise 2 of them, I might just have to give 1 of them away to somebody else." As Inko would simply smile, saying, "Understandable, ma'am. You're not in the best of situations at the moment. But if you're happy to know, I am currently looking to, well, adopt at the moment. I have taken quite a liking to, well, your daughter Izumi. Would you mind if I came back at some point to adopt her?" Assuming that you, of course, would want to, well, still have connections with your daughter after not seeing her for so long. With Toga's mother nodding and smiling, saying, "Yeah, I should have never let him, well, do what he did. Biggest mistake of my life. Just whatever you do, please take care of her better than I did." With Inko saying, "You can assure me, ma'am, I will take great care of your daughter if the paperwork goes through." as we see the detective walk up to, Inko, as he would just simply ask, "Corporal, what was that?" With Inko simply turning to, the detective, saying, "Look at it this way, detective. Someone has to look after the kid. It can't be the principal of UA. He's far too busy, and the kid would need a stable environment to grow into. If I have to, I'll even take all of my, sick and holidays just to raise her. Of course, that would mean I would still have to be on, rapid response, though, in case if any situation large enough required me to return." As the detective would just simply take off his hat and rub his hair, looking at her, saying, "You're playing a dangerous game with Nezu here, Inko. It's clear that you already had an idea like this planned for a very long time. But I'm not going to get in your way. If there's something between you and Nezu, I'll let you two figure out. As long as it doesn't get violent, and as long as it doesn't involve the kid." With Inko nodding, saying, "I promise you. I simply just want to help Izumi. When I saw her under the bridge, when I ran into her, that was a look of someone who lost faith. Someone who couldn't trust. I want to be that person that that girl can trust. Someone that she can confide in. Someone that she can find comfort in. That also means, though, I'm going to have to be grabbing that dog, though. With the detective being shocked, saying, "You actually want the dog that attacked you?" With Inko simply smiling at him, booping him on the nose with the end of, the pen. Saying, "And there's the first step to gaining her trust. Get her what she wants. Right now, she wants something that has been treating her like family for a long time. I'm not about to tear that away from a kid. I'd be no better than Mr. Hanako. Hanaki." With the detective simply sighing, saying, "I'll see what I can do." With Inko saying, "Thanks. Good thing I'm already listed down as a foster parent." As the police detective would simply put his hat back on and shake his head, saying, "I'll never understand what goes on in that head of yours, Corporal. And I seriously hope one day I don't find out." As we cut a little bit ahead to, the hospital. As we see, Aizawa and, Nezu walking to the desk. As Nezu sees, Inko there with some papers, saying, Miss Inko, may I ask what those papers are? They don't look like the file that you used, or that you borrowed from me. If Inko simply saying, no, they're not, Nezu. These are foster care papers. For now on, I am now Izumi's, foster care parent. Until I can adopt her. With Nezu smiling and nodding, while on the inside seething at this woman. Saying, nice to see that you want to help Izumi. I hope you do know, though, that, since you're a police officer, this will be hard on you. With Inko simply smiling, saying to Nezu, no, there's a benefit of not being in charge of literally everything. With her just saying, keyword here, Nezu, that I'm about to say, paid vacation. Plus, I'll still be on call if, they need me. Just means I won't be wearing the blue uniform for a while. With Nezu smiling, saying, I understand. I hope you're able to, help Miss Izumi. As Nezu would simply walk out, as his smile would break into, a frown. As he simply says, I swear that woman's quirk is intelligence. There's no way that's telekinesis. With Aizawa simply, not saying anything. As we cut to, years ahead. As Izumi is now, 14. As we see her, sitting in class, working on, assignment. As lunch bell would ring. As Izumi would simply grab her bag, as we would see someone like Bakugo walk up to her saying, Izumi, me and the boys are going to go to the arcade for lunch. You want to join us? With Izumi shaking her head, saying, sorry, Katsuki. Heading to the forest to eat again. A lot more comfortable there than around other people. With Bakugo simply waving her off, saying, fine, whatever, weirdo. With Izumi going to, the forest nearby, as she would simply, get into some workout clothes and begin to work out. As for a good number of years, she's been reading about one vigilante. one that went from being good to evil, the hero killer. As she wants to match him. As Inko has always told her not to overdo herself. But she has a habit to not listen. As after her sit-ups and push-ups, along with her, burpees, she would go to, a tree that she normally wails at. As she would begin to, start punching it and kicking it. As more cracks would appear on the bark. As after that, Izumi would simply, sit down, take a drink, and begin to start eating. As she would simply change back into her school uniform and, head back to class before the bell rings. As this would be her setup ever since she, ever heard about the hero killer, ever since she was, 9. This was her training. Every day when she had free time. She always made sure to get, meals in though. After all, Inko always told her that the body can never run off nothing. She found that out the hard way one day. As she would shake her head before the memory could take hold of, that poor picture of her in, the bathroom. As Izumi would simply, sit down in her homeroom. As she is seeing, people that she has seen for a little while. People that have learned, not to anger her or take from her. As the teacher would come in doing his usual bit at the beginning of the anime. As he would simply throw up the papers, telling everyone, saying, well, of course you all want to be heroes, so I guess these are all useless. With Bakugo doing his skit. As nobody, laughed at Izumi going to, UA. As some people actually think that she might even be able to, rival Bakugo, as she is the strongest female out of the whole school. As a lot of the male students are chalking it up to, that's just her quirk. As the day would end, as Izumi would take the same path as Izuku did. As she would hear the sewer crate move as she would jump out of the way before, well, slime could envelop her. As the hairs on her neck and her ears and tail are all puffed up. As her instincts do begin to take over, as she wrangles them in. As we hear the sludge villain saying, "Damn kid, how are you that fast?" "Ah, doesn't matter. Just give me your body, brat. I need it." With Izumi seeing, well, two options. She could fight or flight. As she picked the first option, fight. But not in the normal way. As we catch up to, well, All Might's point of view. As he just manages to get out of the sewer crate to see, well, a very muscular girl run circles around the sludge villain. As All Might's, well, impressed. As he thinks, if my injury wasn't healed up, if I didn't have, well, more time, she would be an excellent candidate at the moment. Looks like she already has the body to inherit One for All. But David and Recovery Girl did an excellent job. As All Might would cut off his thinking as she got caught by the tip of her tail. As All Might would simply wind back a fist, use about, well, 5%, and splatter the sludge villain all over the place. As Izumi would simply begin to rinse out her hair, as she would be grumbling, saying, "You never aim for a girl's hair, asshole." As Izumi would turn around, as we cut to, well, her Pav now, as she sees, well, none other than, well, All Might. As her ears, well, flatten against her head. As All Might is just towering over her. With All Might doing his skit, saying, "You're safe now, citizen." I must ask, though, what kept you from, well, not running away from the sludge villain? With Izumi simply, well, perking up at that, with her saying, well, my mother has always, well, told me that it's not good to, well, simply run away when you can do stuff. And to be honest with you, I could hear you coming from a mile away from, well, how much echoing came from the sewers. Also, I don't mean to be rude, but can you hurry up and pick up the sludge villain and go somewhere else? You smell awful. With All Might's jaw dropping as he would pick it back up and, well, cough, saying, well, I would, but I don't have anything to contain the sludge villain with. With Izumi simply pulling out, well, a metallic water bottle with a heavy-duty lid, as she would say, take my water bottle, it's empty, as she would toss it at All Might, as All Might would catch it. As he looks at it, saying, thank you. May I have your name? You can just call me Izumi. My last name doesn't really matter. Besides, the name of that family's dead to me. As All Might couldn't ask any more, as Izumi would begin to walk away. As All Might can tell that something happened to that girl early in her life. As he would shake, well, the idea to go talk to her out of his head, as he would, well, begin to pick up the sludge villain. As he would just simply go, very interesting girl. Seems to be modest too. Maybe I should propose her to Night-Eye. After all, I'm not getting any younger. Eventually, we all die, and I do need to find a successor for one for all. My body might be fully healed, but age will catch up with me eventually. As All Might would simply jump off to the nearest police station after grabbing all the sludge villain. As that's it, everyone. That's the end of part 1. Hopefully you enjoy. So we finally made it to the beginning of the anime. And we can finally see where Izumi's heading path-wise. We can see that she's not very much of the social butterfly that Izuku was. But yeah. As I said earlier, we do plan on replacing, well, Mando. That's if you guys want us to. So do comment down below. Also, give your comments on the, well, video itself. This particular part. Tell us if it lived up to your guys' expectations of this series. Also, down the road, there will be a few plot twists that you guys will actually probably enjoy. So yeah. See you guys later. Also, please give us a, well, last name for Inko. That's your, that will be basically your community service for, well, Toga's father. So we can see him once again, and so Izumi can get her rightful punishments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and press the bell. Of course, I know all of you guys know how to do this. By this point, it's pretty much authorized by YouTubers to say this. But yeah. See you guys later.